Hey, it's the first Wednesday of the month. So what does that mean? That means we go over what we ended up hauling throughout the entire month, well, last month. So we end up breaking down what we end up picking up. And I'm going to give a warning right here. Guys, gals, this is going to be a big one. What I mean, this is a huge haul. We have, I believe, 30 books all together that ended up coming into the library. Oh my goodness, we picked up some books. It's kind of crazy. So we have a system that we end up going. We end up going manga, independent, DC, and then Marvel. That's right. And now before I dive into what we ended up picking up and start that entire gravy train of books that we ended up adding to our collection, I could be saying that you can end up picking up some books of your own over at PBC, over at Panel Bound Comics, where you can end up picking up a bunch of other books that you're interested in, having a haul of your own. If you have one book, or 1 to 3 books, I should be saying, you can use the code of 5th of Jack to save $2 off. Or if you happen to have 4 books or more, you use the code JACKET together to save 5% off your entire order instead. Orders of $30 or more ends up getting some free shipping. Now let's get into the sauce where we end up starting off with manga. That's right, we have a little bit of manga this week because we have, well, not this week, well, this month. We have Berserk Volume 3 and 4 that we picked up. So, Illuminati, aka Tyler, we picked up some more manga. We got 2 more volumes of Berserk. I think we got 10 more to go. So, there we go. Kind of impressive how light these books are too. Holy smokes. So that covers manga. We got the manga. We got a couple volumes. And it's kind of nice and neat to be able to get that because there was a pretty good sale going on. Talking about sales, we picked up a few other books, but we're going to be dashing into the independents before I start talking about them. So, in the softcover department, we have Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3 of Godzilla. This is the IDW Library Editions. So when you say library editions, these are not library edition size like you're getting used to where they're normally nice and big. These are just a regular trade paperback size, which is a kind of a little bit of a downer and it's a soft cover. But what I have to say is I love this cover right here. That's why I have it over the focal point. So I'm glad that we ended up picking up the 3 volumes of Godzilla, and that's a nice addition that we have to the collection. So we're continuing going down our independent route with Volume 17 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by IDW. That means we're 1 volume away from having the entire IDW TMNT line. So we're 1 step closer there. And then I decided to ultimately update our collection. And we have a compendium that we have of this. But I ended up selecting the deluxes of Saga. This has 1, 2, and 3 of the volumes. Had a good sale going on, and I know Volume 4 is coming its way, so it's going to be nice to have all these all together. Plus, it's a pretty good story. It's a fantasy romantic, and I love the art of Fiona Staples. Next up is going to be G.I. Joe. We got Volume 1 and Volume 2 of G.I. Joe. So there's 2 that has Destro. That has Destro on the cover. And Volume 1 has Duke on the cover. So these are going to be part of the Energon universe. We're not going to end up going down the Void Rivals because I didn't really care for that run that came over with it. But obviously we're going to have Transformers and the G.I. Joe sides of those equations. I read a few issues of G.I. Joe. I loved it and I decided to pick them up. I got a little surprised with Volume 2 because I thought I ended up ordering a different one. And I did. But hey, that's what I ended up getting. Alright, so that covers the independents. We ended up going solidly into the independent route and having those added to the shelves. So what that means is that we're going to go over into DC. I'm going into DC. And what we're going to start that off with is the book that I'm currently reading, because my friends ended up talking about it when it was coming out in singles. So it attracted my attention. That was over with it. And I remember it and ended up seeing this coming over for a pre-order and had instantly grabbed it. And that's Birds of Prey by Gail Simone. This is volume 1, so that means we're going to get more volumes of this, and that's something I'm super excited about. I'm loving what I ended up reading so far, and possibly a review coming down the pipeline. What I've learned in this process is I really need to step up my reading game. I need to get a little bit better about that. So continuing down the DC route, or the DC train, give me a quick second. Let me grab out the rest of the books, and we'll be right back. And when I'm saying there's a bunch of books, I have a bunch of books around me. It's, oh my goodness. But the next book that we ended up picking up is Injustice 2. It's a continuation. We'll have Tom Taylor that's on it. It also ends up having a somewhat of a connected spine, where the other ones has Superman and Batman. This has Wonder Woman completing the Trinity on there. It's going to be awesome next to one another, and it's also the prequel to the game. So that's kind of an awesome little sauce that we have. Continuing on with the theme is where we have Nightwing, Volume 1. Yep, that's right. This is going to be the only Nightwing I'm going to pick up. This is by Tom Taylor. I've read a few issues of it, and I've loved it. And this is what I'm going to have represent that character of Nightwing. Watch, I get bit by the Nightwing bug. But I got Volume 2 also on pre-order, but this is Volume 1. It's a small little guy, but that's okay. He's going to be making it on the shelves either way. We're wrapping up the most collection of our Batman run with the Paul Dini omnibus, where that ends up covering the entire lines that we were missing with it. We're going to have that added to our collection as well. This is pretty much wrapping up Batman for us. We got Tom King Volume 1 that we have, but we're going to wait for Volume 2 to finish that line. And honestly, we have a good collection of Batman. So, we're sitting pretty. With our collection, we have one of 2 characters that we wanted to wrap up with that. The second one we haven't had happen yet, and that would be the Alan Moore Swamp Thing run. That's something I would love to have in an omnibus form, and if that ever does come out and everything, that would be something that's going to be strongly looked at to be picked up for the collection. But since we have the Justice League going over with that, we ended up picking up all 3 volumes of Jeff Johns' run. That's right. We have Green Lantern by Jeff Johns that we ended up picking up all the volumes for it. Here is going to be Volume 1, I believe. Yep. Volume 1. Volume 2. And Volume 3. We do have the brightest or darkest night book. That's the storybook and everything that we have. We have that as well. So we got Green Lantern all wrapped up with a nice pretty bow, and it wraps up our collection of the Justice League. So that covers our indie or manga, indies, DC. That means we're on Marvel. And oh my goodness, we have a collection of Marvel that we ended up picking up this month. So we're going to start it off with Hulking Out, where we have 2 different volumes that we ended up picking up. We have She-Hulk by Dan Slott. And then we have She-Hulk by Peter David. Both of these are companions that's going to go with our Savage She-Hulk that we ended up picking up from Ollie's. And I wanted to get a little bit more diverse with our entire collection of that. So that ended up wrapping up pretty nicely. We continue getting on to our Spidey line with the Symbiote Spider-Man omnibus. This is from Peter David. And this is going to be a nice collection that comes over with it. I love the little art of the cover. And it's going to go pretty nice with our Spider-Man line. We're going to continue the Ultimate lines because we have pretty much all of Ultimate Spider-Man, the Ultimates, the Ultimate X-Men, and now we have Ultimate Fantastic Four Volume 1. So we're going to have all the Ultimate stuff going on. That's the standard cover for it. Then, obviously, we ended up going with the Justice League. So what is the Marvel's version of the Justice League? I ended up going with the Avengers. So we went pretty heavy into the Avengers. I picked up a storyline book that I didn't really realize until after the fact that it's already included in the volumes that we picked up afterwards. But we have Avengers Forever. And then we ended up picking up the Earth Mightiest Avengers. This is Volume 2. And this is Volume 1. So this is also what inspired the cartoon show of the, Earth Mightiest Avengers that we ended up going with. We have, this is by Kurt Busiek and George Perez on art. So we end up having some stellar art that comes over with it. Perez always impresses me with how many characters that he ends up getting into a panel. It's crazy how much he jams out. But this is a common run that I ended up hearing really good things with it. And it felt like a definitive way to be able to collect the Avengers. That means we're going to have the new Avengers, the Mightiest Avengers, and then we're also going to end up having Hick Avengers. And then also, I guess, the Young Avengers, since we got Young Justice for the Justice League. So that kind of wraps up the entire Avengers poll that we ended up picking up. Talking about storylines that we end up picking up, we have Judgment Day that has Avengers, X-Men, and Eternals into it. So this Acts of Judgment Day is amazing that I wanted to pick it up, and I was almost kicking myself for not picking this bad boy up. I love this cover that comes along with it, and it's another thing that I wanted to end up getting into the collection. I know I kind of want to get the Eternals by Kieran Gillen, but I could always read that on Marvel Unlimited to be able to get caught up and be able to read that. Eventually, hopefully that comes out with oversized trade or something like that we can end up doing that with. Another hot book that we ended up picking up is going to be X-Men Blue and Gold Mutant Genesis. We ended up picking up this bad boy to be able to put that right over next to our X-Men line that we end up having. We're slowly collecting to the X-Men and trying to get a good solid start. This doubles dips with our Volume 2 of Jim Lee, but that's alright. As I said, we're going to try collecting all of that Claremont era and all that. Maybe I might end up going deep into the X-Men line to where I'm picking up every omnibus I can of the group because the collection is pretty much wrapping up. And we have a few core characters, but now we're not going to be reaching over because I pretty much picked up anything that we are taking flyers on. So the next one is going to be a 2-book series that we ended up having. You heard earlier that we're thinking about picking up X-Men, and this kind of commits us over to a lot of different books it's going to be collecting in our collection. And this, it's also going to be a lot of books that's going over, so we kind of have the 2 different bookends of that collection that's coming out. What do I mean by that? Well, we have Dawn of X that we picked up, Volume 1. This is going to have that mapping, and this is the route that I decided to go because I want to try getting everything from Krakoa, and that's why I kind of went this route with that. And I've heard there's awesome mapping that went with this, that it was a pretty stellar way, and honestly, that ended up getting my interest. I had to make sure that I kept this same cover because obviously I'm going to have to end up calling the herd, and the Hickman X-Men omnibus is going to not have to be part of the collection anymore because it's going to be replaced with this guy. So I had to make sure I ended up keeping that cover. And I said the bookends because we also ended up picking it up Fall of X, Rise of the Powers of X. We ended up picking that up. This is going to be the end of the Krakoa era. This is going to be the end of the cocoa era, where we end up having the entire fall of that. So that's why I had said that we ended up picking up the 2. So having the start and the finish of that cocoa era is going to be going over and making sure that we end up going over with it. I think this has a commitment of 11 different volumes that we're going to end up having all together. So that's going to be a huge run and a whole lot of books to be able to end up having to read. So that's the haul. We got 30 books that we have for the haul. And oh my goodness, we got to try figuring out spaces for this. With this. Specifically X-Men, I'm a little bit worried. I got to try weaseling out enough area to be able to have that entire collection that's going to go on with that. But it also means that we're pretty well set now in the library. We filled a whole bunch of holes that we ended up having before. And now we're working on having an entire, collection to just maintain. I know this is a nice longer video, and it's a big, giant haul that we ended up having. So if this is something that you end up liking, we ended up doing other stuff like this, and I would like to try doing a new project I was thinking about doing in December. And if you listen to Single Sundays, you ended up knowing about this, is where we're going to end up doing a read-along, where we knock out like 4 to 5, 4 or 5 issues of a book series. And then you guys are able to do it, have a live stream. We'll end up being able to talk about it and keep up with it. And then after we finish each different volume, we'll end up having a general review that we'll end up having posted on the channel. It's a good way of everyone being able to read and go on with it, but it's also a good way to express your guys' opinions. And if that's something you're interested into, let us know down in the comments down below. Also, if there's some holes that you're thinking that we should end up be thinking that should be on our radar, let us know down in the comments below as well. Thank you for watching. Oh, and if you're liking the content we're putting out, like, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon to be notified whenever we come off new content. And like I said before, if you want to have a haul of your own, or you want to start your own collection, go over to Panel Bound Comics, where you can use the discount code of 5th of Jack to save $2 off your order if you have 1 to 3 books. But if you have 4 or more books, use the code Jacket Together, where you'll end up saving 5% off your entire order instead. You'll end up orders of $30 or more, ends up having some more bomb-proof shipping. So you'll get an awesome experience of ordering the book, and from there, making it over to your bookshelf. Well, making it onto your doorstep. Thank you for watching, and until next time, we'll see you later.